So I want to be clear, until you can look forward and believe in the promise and the prosperity of Britain again, then this government will fight for you.
Anybody in the country is not untouched by what happened yesterday.
You've talked about making tackling knife crime a moral mission for your government.
Is that because you fear failure?
No, Beth. The way we've constructed it is that there are foundational things that a government must do.
The numbers don't lie, and for Keir Starmer, they're absolutely damning. Since January, over 3,400 migrants have crossed the Channel illegally, a shocking 20% increase from last year. Starmer promised to smash the gangs responsible for these crossings, yet the only thing actually limiting the crossings isn't his policies. It's bad weather.
We have a clear plan for change. 1.5 million new homes, restoring the dream of home ownership.
When maritime security sources admit the policy just isn't working, you know we're witnessing a political house of cards collapsing in real time. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Let's talk numbers because they don't lie, even when politicians do. While Starmer was busy promising to take control of our borders, migrants were busy taking control of the Channel. In just 5 days, a staggering 1,300 people made the crossing, exposing the emptiness behind the government's tough talk.
Tax to record levels. They have broken their promises, and it is the working people of this country that are going to pay the price.
Children starting school ready to learn. A more secure energy system.
Sunday's arrivals tell the real story here. 592 migrants in a single day. Let that sink in. That's not just another statistic. It's the largest March arrival on record. But Starmer and his team would rather you focus on their press releases than these inconvenient facts that shatter their carefully constructed narrative. Remember all those confident statements about cracking down on criminal gangs and taking back control? Well, the Channel crossings are telling a very different story. When Starmer stood at that podium, with his serious face promising action, did he mention that crossings would actually increase on his watch? Of course not. That wouldn't fit the script. What's particularly revealing is looking at what's actually limiting these crossings. Is it Starmer's brilliant policies? Government intervention? Those millions poured into special operations? No, it's the weather.
Immigration reduced. Neighbourhood police tackling antisocial behaviour in every community. And more cash in your pocket.
That's right. The British government's most effective border control measure turns out to be stormy seas. When Mother Nature decides to calm down, the boats immediately surge forward. Some border security strategy, eh? The context makes this even more damning. Last year already set records with 36,800 crossings, but apparently that wasn't enough for Starmer's government. They've managed to achieve a 20% increase in 2024. Imagine boasting about your immigration control while presiding over numbers that are spiralling further out of control month after month. Starmer made smashing the gangs sound like such a straightforward solution, didn't he? Just throw millions at a new border security command, make some stern statements, and problem solved. Except the gangs didn't get the memo. They're operating more brazenly than ever, clearly unimpressed by the government's posturing. Those millions of taxpayer pounds.
Anybody in the country is not untouched by what happened yesterday.
You've talked about making tackling knife crime a moral mission for your government.
Fine, can we just...
Do you understand?
Shall we go on in?
Thousands of people have died because you have failed to do your job and asked the real question.
They might as well have been tossed directly into the Channel for all the good they've done. The Home Office's response to this debacle is a masterclass in political doublespeak. They assure us that we all want to end dangerous small boat crossings which threaten lives and undermine our border security. How comforting. Problem is, Wanting something and actually achieving it are two very different things. Their statements ring incredibly hollow when paired with the skyrocketing numbers we're seeing. And here's a sobering thought. If March is bringing record numbers with still unpredictable weather, what happens when summer arrives? When the channel is calm for days or weeks at a time? The current numbers might end up looking quaint by comparison.
So I want to be clear. Until you can look forward and believe in the promise and the prosperity of Britain again, then this government will fight for you.
Is obvious, but border security is equally obvious in my view, and that's why I've said we are committed to bringing down immigration.
We could be facing an unprecedented migration crisis, all while the government continues insisting their approach is working. A maritime security source cut through all the political fog with refreshing honesty. It's as clear as the nose on your face this policy of smashing the gangs just isn't working. That's not coming from political opponents or commentators. It's from someone on the front lines watching this failure unfold in real time. When the people tasked with implementing your policy are openly admitting it's not working, perhaps it's time to admit your approach has failed. But admission of failure isn't in Starmer's playbook. Instead, we get more promises, more funding announcements, more tough talk, and more migrants crossing the channel than ever before.
I'm convinced that if we can show that politics can change Britain for the better, then we can face the future with confidence. That I should have stayed in my Kentish Town home and disrupted my son's GCSEs, that was the right thing to do, then I think you should put that to them.
The disconnect between rhetoric and reality has never been more glaring. So here's the real story. Keir Starmer sold us a fantasy, a tough immigration stance that would finally fix the channel crisis. But what have we actually got? A government whose border strategy consists of hoping for bad weather while migrant numbers soar to unprecedented heights. The harsh truth is that political competence isn't measured by slick press conferences or how many times you can say smashing the gangs in Parliament. It's measured by outcomes. And Starmer's outcomes? Well, they speak volumes about the gap between his promises and his performance. This pattern of over-promising and under-delivering has become Starmer's political trademark. When summer arrives and crossings inevitably surge further, remember this moment.
Is that because you fear failure?
No, Beth, the way we've constructed this is that there are foundational things that a government must do. Are fully costed and fully funded. And that means no tax rises for working people. We're not going to be raising tax on working people.
Because while our politicians' promises may change with the political winds, their habit of misleading the British public remains as predictable as ever. Starmer's immigration scam hasn't just failed, it's blown up spectacularly in his face.